Gul Dukat shows up to Deep Space Nine with his gym bag. Deep Space Nine treats us to a romantic comedy starring Kira and Dukat. And Captain Sisko spends the entire episode trying to extract his foot from his mouth. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we are doing a review of Season 4, Episode 5, Indiscretion, with two very special guest writers, Toni Marberry and Jack Trevino. How you guys doing?
Hey.
How you doing?
All right.
Awesome.
Good to see you guys.
This episode was also directed by none other than LeVar Burton. So this is like an all-star cast and crew today. It's a good day, right? Good episode. Good fun.
Always fun to have LeVar Burton participate. He's a wealth of knowledge and just a nice all-around guy.
So before we get too deep into this, we do want to remind you to please make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon for notifications, or the Gabriel bell icon for notifications. That's a Deep Space Nine deep cut. Also, Cirroc Lofton and I happen to be coordinating. Total coincidence. I'm wearing Abyssinian Kiosk, my shirt, the Sisko Kid. Cirroc is also wearing a shirt from Abyssinian Kiosk. What do both of these have in common? Cirroc's sister designs these and sells these on her website, Abyssinian Kiosk. We've got the website in the description box below of all of our videos, so please check it out. Get yourself some holiday gifts from Abyssinian Kiosk from Cirroc's sister, Merone. All right, and now let's talk about Indiscretion, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. You know, I was telling you earlier before, Jack, before you joined us, I was saying how much this episode just really was well written. And as I was watching it, I was thinking of, the kind of work that you guys do and what you put into making this story. And really my first question to you guys is where the impetus of the story kind of began for you. Where did it start for you?
I don't know. I like putting characters that are always at odds together, or they're like opposites. Like when we did Pitch for Deep Star Trek, we did like Troy and Worf. So, Kira and Dukat have this explosive background, but they're so similar in many ways that, we put them together and then came up with the backstory of the daughter. It's what we pitched is slightly different the way they did it. They equated it to the Searchers, which I remember the movie. I saw it when I was a kid. I didn't see it so much until they said, hey, it's kind of like the Searchers. And then you're like, yeah, it kind of is. So we just kind of took that thing of putting them together, and the way we had it with the daughter was a little different, but we ran with it, and they really seemed to gravitate towards it.
Yeah, you guys created a character that was reused. That is also a rarity, where you create a character, and later on in the series, the writers bring back that one-off character. Did you have any thoughts or plans that it would be a character that would continue on in Deep Space Nine, or did you think, okay, they usually just do one-off things, kind of bottle episodes? Did you guys have an idea about that?
Well, I didn't. I know I was just reading what we sent to them because they gave us the parameters. I think Jack went to the story breakdown meetings, but when we
Uh-oh.
Oh, we might have lost her.
That was a good story too. Jack, do you want to pick up where she left off?
Well, at the time, I had a regular job for a research institute, and we went to a food show in Anaheim, and I told Robert Wolf that I was going to be there, and if I could come by and say hello, and he said, well, actually, you can come and sit in on the story break for Indiscretion. Awesome. So I jumped at that chance. Mm-hmm. So I went down to the studio, and I was able to sit in with the writers, Ron Moore, Renee Echeverria, Robert Wolf, Ira. They were all in there, and then they had I think they had them interns was in there taking notes and stuff. So that was really interesting. To Ron Moore was not convinced that Kira would go off with Dukat. The
Oh, really?
reason we had provided. So I think he developed the idea that she really wanted to go find her former freedom fighter, Lauret Akram, I think was his name.
Right.
And that was okay with us. Toni just sent me a message. There was a power surge here. She lost the internet.
Oh, no way. Well, when she gets it back, she could just jump right back on, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good that they added a little motivation for Kira, because already we thought, boy, it's going to be kind of tough for Kira to join in on that. But when she has like a friend or somebody important there, then that certainly gives her that kind of motivation.
Right. They
Sorry.
both needed their own rationale for why they were going to go, and because it was obvious she was not going to go to help him. You know, that was just, you know, she was kind of forced to do that because of the respective governments that were trying to cooperate.
Yeah, there's so many aspects of this story that I've liked. One of them is just the dialogue itself. And one of the things that they had in exchange when they were in the shuttle, I think Dukat was asking her the reason for why she was on this trip. And she mentioned, you know, Lord Kanar, I think his name was, but, you know, as being her mentor and somebody that inspired her to join the revolution. And then we find out later that Dukat actually has the more personal reason for doing this, which he wasn't disclosing it. So I like the fact that you had Dukat dealing with this deep-seated personal guilt or issue of, you know, remorse for what he had done. Is that something that you had any kind of personal experience with, or that's something that inspired you to kind of talk about that subject?
Well, my parents divorced when I was rather young. I was like about 11, 12 years old. And my father had remarried and had 2 daughters. And my brothers and I had only seen them one time. And my father died when I was fairly young. I was only 18. So I never really, you know, kept in contact with him. But I had made an effort around that time that we were starting to pitch this, or when we started pitching to the next generation, to try to find them. And I wondered what I would say, because we had a lot of resentment because of, you know, the divorce and stuff. But they had nothing to do with it. And then I saw an episode, I think it was called Cardassians, if I'm not mistaken, about the children of the occupation left behind from relationships that had occurred between Cardassians and Bajorans. Mm-hmm. And that's when I thought maybe Dukat had a child out of wedlock. And so I was telling Toni about it, and I would tell my colleagues at work, you know, that maybe he had this daughter that he was trying to find. And that this fellow at work, Dr. John Frangioni, he looked at me and he says, yeah, when he finds her, he needs to kill her.
Right.
And I said, no, we can't do that. And then I said, well, wait a minute, but we can make the audience think he's going to do that. And so when Toni and I pitched the story to Renee Echeverria, we were going along, and then all of a sudden we threw that out, because he said, what's he going to do when he finds her? And we said, he's going to kill her. And we heard silence. It sounded like his pen dropped on the desk or something. He was like, oh my God, I'm blown away. And then he said the same thing. We can't do that, but we can make the audience think, you know, as long as the audience believes that he's going to kill her, then you establish what you're supposed to do. And Cirroc, you were mentioning about the writing. We have to give credit to Nicholas Correa. He wrote the teleplay and he was, he did a lot of television shows, and he was with the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, wow. Nice. With the slow walking away song. I love that show.
Probably.
It was like that slow walking away song when he'd walk away all dejected. And it would, anyway, at
And
the end of
we had
every
hoped,
episode.
I mentioned we had hoped, Mark Alemo might be on because he was friends with Nicholas Correa. So I was wanting to ask Mark if he thought that Nicholas had written any of those lines, especially for Mark's character, because Mark, I remember reading in an article that he really enjoyed this, getting out of his, villainous and you saw another side of Dukat. We saw a lot of sides of Dukat that we had never seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I put that in my notes was, not to jump too far ahead, but at the very end, the very final scene in line was probably the first time we actually saw some genuineness and some earnestness from Dukat. Like it wasn't like, fake seriousness or sarcasm or something that was like oozing with subtext. He was just being genuine and saying, I'll let you know, like he's going to keep in touch with her. Like they shared some kind of moment or bond. And that was the first bit of humanity, for lack of a better term, that we've seen in Dukat.
Oh, I would just actually kind of slightly disagree with that, Ryan. I think.
All right, I'm ready. Here, this is Cirroc always likes to take me down with his Star Trek knowledge.
No, not much knowledge, but specifically with this episode, I think that the first time that Dukat shows some humanity is in the scene that's actually behind you when he
I
sits
thought you were
on
going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, when he sits on that sharp object and it gets stuck in his butt. And Kira, and Kira does this really marvelous laugh, and she says,
Yeah.
it looks funny from here. And I thought that moment when they shared that laugh, I thought, okay, this is
You're
kind
right.
of like a bond right here. This is a moment where they're, they can laugh about something. They can share this moment together.
Yeah, you're so right. He goes, "This isn't funny," and she goes, "It is from this angle." And he says, "It's funny. It doesn't work." And the whole time she's laughing her ass off, and she says, "You have to activate it." And he goes, "Oh," like total rom-com. I was like, this is a scene of a romantic comedy. Obviously, it kind of goes in a different direction, but that was a romantic comedy scene where the two enemies. And I was thinking, and this is for everybody listening in to please chime in on this. If this were a romantic comedy with Kira and Dukat, what would the title be? I was thinking maybe like Mortal Frenemies, but I'm like, I don't know if that works. So let us know in the comments, everybody down below and in the live chat, what would a good title be for a romantic comedy between Kira and Dukat? I think there'll be good names there. Anyway.
That was kind of the beginning moment for me of them kind of reaching an understanding. But one of the things that jumped out for me, guys, is as I was watching this, there's a moment there for me where I thought about some of the founding fathers here in America and how they had these kinds of extramarital relationships and
right.
Specifically, children with slaves and out of wedlock and these multiracial children that were kind of abandoned. Is that something that crossed your mind at all when you were kind of writing this stuff out?
Gosh, that was like in the 90s. I want to say, I live in San Antonio, so we have a lot of military here. So it was never uncommon to see mixed families. So, but I know a lot of people, for them, that was just kind of, what's this all about? For me, I don't think so. I don't know about Jack. I mean, I'm just kind of, used to it. I don't think anything of it. You're with someone, you have kids, you're a family. But I mean, I don't know, Jack. I mean, is that something you were thinking about when we did this?
No, I'm not sure if you had come back, but I was mentioning that there was an episode called Cardassians, which dealt with the children.
That's where I dropped out. I had a power surge here. But actually, it's more like the Nazi Germany thing. It's where a lot of the Germans, in Sweden or any of the where they occupied, those children were outcasts, you know. And and just from my history, I'm an ABBA freak. I love ABBA, but
Nice.
Anna Frida, she's actually a product of that union. And I read a lot of their stuff, and you know how it's not always easy. It wasn't easy for those children either, or you know the children from Vietnam that were left behind from our soldiers. You know, those kids did not have it easy. Neither culture accepted them. So it's kind of, you know, similar with you would expect with the Kardashians and the Bajorans. Neither side's going to accept them.
Well, now I'm going to take a chance here. That's an ABBA reference, by the way, for you, Toni. Take a chance. I don't know. It's a good song. I like it. I'm going to say I completely thought the exact same thing you thought, Cirroc. Like I thought that was like deliberate. You know, it's amazing that there are definitely different instances of that all, you know, throughout our history. You know, you're talking about Nazi Germany and all that. But, you know, to me and to Cirroc, the first thing that came to mind was almost like the most obvious, you know, answer to us, I would think. And it also led me to think that it would be really tough. There was a scene where Dukat says, you know, Kira says, oh, so Dukat, she was your lover. He says, oh, more than just a lover. We were in love. And I would have expected Major Kira to say, you guys were not in love. You owned her. So, you know, for two reasons. Number one, she hates him and she hates Cardassians, and she thinks you're not capable of love. You're not capable of love, which is why you treated him this way. And on the other side of that, she would think no Cardassian would love you. You were her slave master. She did not love you. Bite your tongue. She was just doing that to try to have a better life and to not get killed or something like that, you know? So that was interesting. They didn't, you know, the script didn't go in that direction because you can't fit all of this extra stuff in a 40-minute episode. But that was something that kind of my mind went off on. I don't know if any of you guys kind of picked up on those couple lines there.
I remember the lines, but I didn't think that, because that's one thing I like about Gul Dukat is, yes, he's a villain, but there are so many layers to him. He's just not that caricature. There's nothing good in him. Because to me, that's not a real villain. It's not a real person. And that's why I like this. It explores that, yes, he's not a good person, but there is some type of goodness in him. There is something there. You know, you may not like it or agree with it, but it is there.
Yeah, and also I want to say that's a testament to the good writing that you guys were doing, because it inspires these kinds of tangential thoughts that make you, you know, play things out in your head in different ways, different sequences. That wasn't your intention, but yet it did kind of provoke me to think about, you know, I mean, George Washington and whatever slaves he had, or whatever it was in the past. But so those thoughts started to fire off. I also started to think, what would the conversation be like when Gul Dukat shows up with his head good luck with that one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would have, as a woman here and a wife, that would not have gone over well.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, she's like, who's that behind you? Oh, her. That's just my daughter.
And the thing is, I think if he just brought home a Cardassian, plain Cardassian, she would have, I think, accepted. She wouldn't have liked it, but she would have accepted that. It's the fact that it was half Bajoran. No, never.
Yeah.
Now,
that was great.
Toni, you also mentioned saying like how you guys like to put two characters together, kind of like an odd couple where the conflict is inherent in the scene. And, you know, it is said in writing that every single scene must have conflict. Otherwise, cut it out of your script. So putting two characters together must make it so much fun, because, you know, that don't like each other, because now the conflict is already there. And now you get to just play with, okay, so what happens with the conflict? Where do we go from here, you know?
Well, that, and plus, you know, even when there's conflict, you can't help but look at Kira and Dukat. There's so many similarities to them.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I honestly thought at some point they might actually put them together. But, you know, I think, though, Kira's hatred for him was so beyond that, there's no way. I think Dukat would have went for it, but not Kira.
Totally.
Yeah, we saw that in the documentary a little bit. They touched on that, and it didn't go over well in the Naz's mind.
What do you think, Jack? Would you have wanted to see Dukat and Major Kira get it on? That was a Chris Farley reference.
No, but we could make them think they were going to get it on. There was a scene, and I think it was, I want to say the Maquis, where Dukat takes over. Captain Sisko is talking to some freight commander, and they went aboard the ship. They went aboard his ship, and you know, Captain Sisko is trying to be very diplomatic and stuff. And Dukat, they're in a runabout, and Dukat gets up and leans across behind Sisko's shoulder and tells this guy off, and he gives him like a countdown, and he's going to blast him out of the sky. And the guy says, "Stop counting." And then he looked at Sisko and he says, I'll leave the rest to you. And then he sat down, and Kira was looking at him. And the way she was looking at him, there was admiration for him being able to take control of that situation and get what he wanted done immediately. And that was a scene that I thought, you know, she hates him, but she admires him at the same time. So she's kind of in conflict with herself. So you've met people like that. You can't stand them, but there's something about them you
respect. You respect some of it. Maybe not admire, but respect.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think, Tony, you mentioned that earlier, and you actually called out that the fact that you think Kira and Dukat are very similar in a lot of ways, and I think that showed in this episode because they both were attached personally to this, you know, this Ravenok ship, but they were both seeking personal things, but they've also both been in the military, you know, fighting and believe in their ideals to, you know, where they were both expressing how they believe in their ideals at some point in this episode. So I do think that that's an accurate assessment, that there's a lot of similarities between the two of them.
That's a good point. I never really considered that, or maybe we mentioned it once or twice in the past, but I never really thought how deeply that goes, because they came at things from two different perspectives. You know, Kira was the underdog and he was the oppressor. And so they have very similar personalities in a lot of ways, but they grew up in two completely different lives for that, for those personality types to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was also another moment in this episode where, you know, Jack, you mentioned that Kira looked at Dukat in that moment in Marquis, I think it was, but the way she looked at him, I felt like the opposite was true in this episode. The way that Dukat looked at Kira when Kira said, I already got the command codes from Bajoran intelligence.
Right.
Yes.
And there was a look where he was kind of impressed. He was like, wow, this girl's good. I like her.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little more on the other side. We're going to take a quick break. But before we do want to give a quick shout out to our friend, Mr. Bill Erickson. He's out in our YouTube chats always as War Dog Heim. He's doing something for Movember where he's raising funds for men's health. His goal is $1,000. He's currently at $345. We'll include the link in the description box below. He says, my personal motivation is that men don't talk about this kind of thing without prompting. I like to start a conversation, and this is a great reason to reach out. Globally, 1.4 million men are diagnosed with prostate cancer each year. Movember is working to have that number of deaths from prostate cancer by 2030, and I want to help them get there. Help me stop men dying too young. So definitely check out the link below, see if we can get that goal up to $1,000 for a good cause. And we're going to take a super quick break. We'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We've got Jack Trevino and Toni Marberry with us, writers extraordinaire. And we're reviewing, as you know, Indiscretion, Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 5, directed by LeVar Burton, by the way. We should talk about that in a moment. Real quick, our trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. I was already reading about Tholians. The Tholians are after Razga Karn. Trelos Vren was arrested on the promenade outside the Klingon restaurant, 4 counts of petty theft. Sisko doesn't think Cassidy is looking to get serious. Boy, was he wrong, right? Dukat shows up to Deep Space Nine with his gym bag. We did that one. Dukat admits that he always admired Kira. Minister Azin offers Cassidy a job before the interview was even over. Kira and Dukat find some brine that are used in Bajorans and Cardassian prisoners to mine dilithium. By the way, is that the first appearance of the brine? I'm not sure. Kira does her best Princess Leia impression. Captain Sisko spends the entire episode trying to retract his foot from his mouth. And Jake is a smart boy. He must take after his mother. Guys, Princess Leia impression. What do you think? Did she look like Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi? No?
You mean when she had the outfit, the helmet on?
Yeah, when she took it off, and it was like when Princess Leia was rescuing Han Solo, and she takes the thing off, and she's like, "Hey," but whatever the heck she says, it totally reminded me of that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it till you just said it.
Yeah, I didn't see it till you said it. I can see it, but I didn't see it.
Well, I remember reading some reviews about the episode, and somebody was very upset that the episode had ripped off Star Wars. But we had no control over the costume department, so maybe the costume department people had, wanted to give a nod to, to Star Wars and designed it, in a similar fashion. But I thought it was very cool looking, really.
Now, did you guys go down to the set when they were filming this episode? Looks like they were in the desert somewhere.
No, we actually met LeVar Burton when we went down to pitch, and they were filming, Jack, the episode with the
Bar Association.
The Bar Association, and LeVar was directing that one.
Okay.
And stuff. And he actually said, "Oh yeah, we had fun doing it." And what really I remember that just made me smile so much is when he was walking back, he turned back around and says, "Oh, you guys did Little Green Men too." I thought, wow, okay, that just stays with me. And Jack, of course, wanted to go to the bathroom and follow him. I'm sorry, Jack, I'm embarrassed. He just wanted to say hi to him. I was like, no, man, you can't go to the bathroom with LeVar. Uncool.
Jacques Gravitt, production associate. Do you remember him, Cirroc? Jacques Gravitt?
Oh, I thought you were saying something else.
Sorry. Yeah, I know what you heard, Cirroc. By the way, this is Kira as a brine.
Okay.
This is Leia as a not brine.
Not brine.
Okay. So yeah, there is some similarity there.
Similar. Jacques Gravitt was taking us on a tour of the sets, and we were walking over. We were outside, and LeVar Burton walked by, and Toni and I looked at each other, and I said, Jacques, is that LeVar Burton? He goes, "Oh yeah, he's directing today." And I said, "Well, do you think we could?" And he goes, "No. He's probably going to the men's room, so he's probably busy." And I said, "Well, I got to go to the men's room too."
Yeah, perfect.
Oh God.
Toni grabbed me. She goes, "Don't you dare talk to him in the men's room." So when he came back, I finished first, and when he came back, I said, "LeVar Burton," and he turned around like, "Who the heck are you guys?" And then Jacques said, "This is Toni and Jack." They had, and then he said, "Well, that's the episode I directed," and that's when he mentioned Little Green Men as well. And then he said, "Hey, you guys got time? Come on in." watch me direct. So he was real nice. He took us inside, got us some director's chairs. They brought us Cokes, and everybody was looking at us like we were really, really important people. So we went along for the ride.
Wow.
You are really, really important people. And I'm glad he invited you to the set instead of into the bathroom where he was doing his thing. You guys can
always
watch
next time.
I could just imagine Jacques, if I had tried to talk to LeVar when he was in the men's room, Jacques, it would have been his job.
No, that's his job. That would have cost him his job if you're knocking on the stall like, LeVar!
It's me!
Yeah, that wouldn't have went well. You touched a little bit on Bajoran theology in this when you talk about the burial rites in this episode. And then I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it a little bit briefly, but the names of these people were Torah
Zial,
Uprem, and Torah Zial.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was interesting that the name was Torah. That's I bring up interesting names when I hear them, and I thought that was a interesting selection.
Well, I don't think we actually came up with the names. Did we? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
Okay.
I think that was them doing that.
So that's a question I'll ask. That's a question for Ira and ask him about.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines in this episode was Quark's line about women. He always never misses an opportunity to be as chauvinistic as possible.
Yeah.
And he didn't miss it this time. Do you have the quote, Ryan? Do you have it there?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Cirroc. I just so happened to notate that, actually. He comes in and he, Quark butts in, and Sisko says, I don't recall asking you a damn thing. Well, he said asking your opinion, but that's what he meant. And Quark says, well, who knows more about women than me? And Bashir goes, everyone. But what? And then Quark was like, we treat them like the enemy because they are. And then he's like, if they want a gift, you take the previous one away. If you want that, you take that away. And
if she wants more time, you threaten her with even less.
With less. And then Dax says, well, what if she leaves you? And Quark, in true Quark form, says, well, that's what holosuites are for. And scene.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot.
That would be the part of their B story. Because I was kind of looking at ours. Ours had a little bit more of Quark and Odo about debating, about how Odo was very protective and spying on Dukat, and say, hey, you act like a jealous husband. So they just kind of went with that other storyline, which is good. I enjoyed it. Like I particularly enjoyed your scene with Sisko at the dinner table when you're like, Nog and I were discussing.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Tony reminds us we do have a NAM, which is a non-appearance mention for Nog. What we do is we believe that characters continue to get growth even when they're not on the show. And in this case, like you mentioned, Tony, Nog was mentioned. He got a non-appearance mention from his good buddy Jake. So that's another non-appearance mention. We are keeping a tally, by the way. And I believe Nog and Rom and Keiko are tied for first place with 8 now. But anyway, that was a great scene.
That was. It was really good. The stuff between you and Avery was. I was laughing still, and it's been 25 years. It's still funny.
And interestingly enough, I actually remembered that scene and remember those moments. I didn't remember that LeVar was directing in that moment, but it certainly makes sense because there was a level of comfortability. And when you are comfortable with the director, it just plays out a lot smoother. I thought that the Nog and I were talking about what you need to do, Dad reference was really great. I also thought it was funny when he calls his dad scared. Oh yeah, it's because you're scared. it just labels it as, you're being scared. So I really did like that scene, because it shows that not only, like you say, keeping characters alive and growing when they're not there, but it also shows that, like any other kid, they go and they talk about their family's business with their friends and saying, hey, my mom's doing this, my dad's doing this. What do you think? And it's kind of, that is what would normally happen. So it's a level of realism to me that makes sense.
Yeah, I wish I could say we did it, but we didn't. But it was good.
Well, you can take credit for it.
Yeah, it's a great B plot. Jack, Toni mentioned a little bit about the B plot you guys were kind of working on. Do you remember any more of what could have been?
Nope.
All right, then.
I don't even remember pitching the B plot. I just remember pitching the main story.
Okay.
Well, but we had to write the story that we sent in. So, I mean, we wrote a story, and I guess the B plot was Odo following Kira in a runabout because he didn't trust Dukat. That was more of our B story. So it involved Odo more, kind of following with Sisko's permission. He went to Sisko. So that was more of our B story, but there really wasn't any character development or anything going on. So I could understand why they, ours was there, but, adding the Cassidy Sisko thing, develop those characters more while the other stuff was going on.
Well, obviously they wanted to take the opportunity. Where can we make this fit in the story? And they said we can do this to balance out the really dramatic, suspenseful portion of the Dukat and Kira portion. So
yeah, I think that worked well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really happy they did it. Right, Cirroc. I mean, it was great to see not just the character development and the storyline progressing with those characters. I think that was just Cassidy's third appearance. And then we're not going to see her for a little while. So it gives us something to chew on, with those two characters. And she continues to be kind of a mystery to Sisko, like at the end when he leans in for the kiss. And she left him hanging so hard. I had to go back and rewatch that because
I wrote it down.
Because of his reaction was glorious.
Yeah, I put down no kiss Cassidy. You're not getting that. And one other thing that I want to add to that is that I think that what Cassidy does for Sisko is really show a level of vulnerability that we don't see in any other aspect of his life. He's so commanding. He's always in charge. He knows what he's doing. He's on top of things, or he's thoughtful. But in this particular, when it comes to, I guess, love or relationship, he becomes really awkward and self-doubting and vulnerable and in need of advice. And, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? So I think that this actually shows another side of Sisko, which rounds him out as a all-around person. You see the dad version of him. Now you're seeing the vulnerable kind of potential husband or boyfriend side of him, and then you also see the leadership captain side of him. So I think that this is another aspect that opens up his character's profile to another degree. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this scene with Kira and Dukat. I thought the moment where Kira says, "If you hurt that girl, I promise I'll kill you." She delivered that line, and that scene with the backdrop of the sand behind her, that was like a poignant moment, and I think that she knocked that out of the park. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yes, I agree. Totally believable. I mean, and that's the thing with Kira. She says what she means, and she follows through. So yes, I totally agree with that.
That's true. There's never any subtext in what Kira says. You don't have to guess how she's feeling. You don't have to interpret her sarcasm or her innuendo. She's extremely clear in how she feels and what her intentions are.
Yeah, the difference in what they did and what we wrote was the fact that we they had him say, she knew up front the child was the half child, half. We had it where she didn't know that he told her, he kept telling her little bits of the truth, saying, well, it was my wife and my oldest daughter. So she, in our story that we wrote to them, we had her believe the whole time she was a pure Cardassian. So she had no idea he was there to kill her. It was strictly a rescue mission until, where you would see the neck outline. And then when she turned, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if that had been better where, like the audience, we're Kira and us are the same, where we see, oh my God, this is not a rescue mission. I sometimes wonder how that would have played out if we would have been in the dark until that moment where Kira realized what was fixing to happen. And she had helped him get there.
And I want to ask you guys, what about the moment when the daughter has this kind of face-to-face with her dad that she hasn't seen now in 6 years? Was that something that you wrote into detail? Is that something that the writers took and ran with?
No, because in ours, on our story, we had where Kira actually took her and ran with her. And that's where Odo came into play because he ended up saving them. And we had like where they went over a cliff and Dukat was holding her arm and Kira was begging him, don't drop her, don't drop her.
Ooh, that's good.
And that, and then Odo beamed them all up. So you didn't know whether he was going to drop her or not. And when confronted, he told Kira, I honestly don't know what I would have done. So that was kind of how ours ended. And then she disappeared with that other girl. So it's what could have been, what is. I mean, the story was still, I enjoyed what they did with it. But, in my head.
Were you happy with what they did with it, Jack?
Oh, I was just happy to just get my name on an episode.
Like, do whatever you want with it. Just put my name on it.
Well, when I went to that story break, it was fortuitous that I was in Anaheim at the time, because I knew I was not going to be able to write all the notes down. I had purchased this little dictating recorder. So I brought it and I set it on the table and I turned it on and they were like, what's that? I go, it's a recorder. Oh, recorder. Oh. And I said, well, I can't write notes. I don't do shorthand or anything. I said, but I was going to play it for Toni when I got back to town. And so then Ira says, well, Renee, so what time does the drug shipment come in on Thursday night? And he started. But I told him, I said, I just want to make sure I get everything down correctly. And I didn't want to forget anything. So they were
wearing a wire. You're wearing a wire.
Right.
That's funny. I have a quick question for you guys. This may be off topic or it might be relevant, but who's your favorite character to write for and why?
I was thinking the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I think I mentioned previously, I didn't like the Ferengis. I thought they were a total joke. But, Armin Shimmerin and Quark changed everything for me. So Quark, I mean, that's probably why, we had a little bit of him in here. But I love Quark. I mean, there's just something about him that he makes me laugh. And but I know he's still dangerous. He bites, but he's funny. So I would say Quark.
Yeah. Jack?
I really didn't have a favorite. I just enjoyed all the characters so much. It was such an ensemble group. They I don't know if they purposely designed, whoever cast all the people, they knew what they were doing, because all these characters, these actors, they merged so well. In my mind, I actually believed that there was a Deep Space Nine out there, and these were real people, and we were just spying in on their everyday lives, however extraordinary they were. So I just enjoyed all of them. But as we had mentioned back on the virtual con, last month, we tried to focus in on secondary characters and
Right.
develop a story for them. And because eventually it's going to come back to the main characters, and then they all have to address it. And they liked that part. They enjoyed that because they had tons of stories for the main characters, but relatively few for the secondary supporting roles.
Yeah, and you mentioned the teleplay done by Nick Correa in this particular one.
Right.
Yes.
The line that I just thought, I literally started to like break down a little bit, was when the daughter says to her dad, "I used to dream about you coming.
Yeah.
That's what kept me alive." And I was like, wow, that's a tough one to swallow right there.
Yeah. That puts a lump in your throat every time you watch it.
Yeah.
Now, what if she says, "I used to dream about you coming to save me, and that's what kept me alive"? And you went, cool story. Like, I'm glad you stayed alive for this moment. No, but you're right. That was really good. I had to write that one down because that was one of those moments that really gets you, and you have to stand up and take notice for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that lump in your throat, just like you said, Jack.
Yeah.
He just starts forming, and you're like, why am I getting emotional right now?
And like Toni said, that in the end of the story, Kira takes her, but eventually they went around to Kira, gaining guardianship over her in the subsequent episodes.
And I think it's interesting that you pointed out that the Nick and Mark Alaimo had a relationship, because in some ways the Dukat lines were almost, tailor-made for him, as if he knew how he was going to deliver them and what he was going to get out of it. So I felt like he really had a good grasp of Mark Alaimo's abilities.
Yeah, it's beautiful. A lot of his lines were just so well written for him. I mean, it seems like he can deliver any line well, but clearly sometimes people are writing specifically for Dukat and specifically for Mark Alaimo playing Dukat. Zial also had a little bit more in that scene, which was when she said, when he pointed the gun at her, and she said, "The Cardassian prisoners told me this would happen, but I didn't believe them." That's the line that preceded the one you said. And that one also got me, because she's making him think like they knew what was going to happen, but I had faith that my daddy loved me, and he's just like, don't say that, man. Like, I got the mission to accomplish here, making it so hard on me, but beautiful. It was great.
Yeah, and the line that I really thought was tailor-made for Dukat was when Kira says that's an order, Dukat. She basically tells him that's an order, and his response was, "I hate to refuse it, but I'm afraid I'm going to have something." It was typical Dukat.
Right.
And
it was like he patted her on the head.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes. I knew you would say that, but it's not going to happen. You can file a complaint when we get back to Cardassian or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So we've only got a few minutes left here before we do have to go. You guys have any final thoughts on the episode or on your experience in the pitching room?
Well, that was our first, well, both of ours. I mean, I saw the concept. That meant you didn't do anything, just said thank you. This was our first story, and it was very nerve-wracking, to try to write what they wanted. And it was just interesting to see how much of what we wrote they kept. I felt we did better on Little Green Men, that I felt I saw a little bit more of our stuff in the episode. But I mean, it is nerve-wracking. That was, and then we had like a quick turnaround because they bought them at the same time. So we had to do one and then the other. But I mean, it was interesting. I don't know if I could do that for a living though, because that would be, oh my God, I'd be so nervous. It was fun for us to do it.
But not for a regular job.
Yeah, not for a regular job.
I don't know, man.
Pressure.
The
Get
pressure.
those stories out. You know, that's why Michael Pillar opened up to outside pitches, because they had so many things they had to do just to make the whole thing work. Not just writing there. It turns off your creative juices, and to get all these ideas from these outside writers, and then you pitch it to them. And Rene Echeverria, I mentioned him earlier. He was saying, I can see the whole story. He sees it in his mind. And he said to one of us producer writers that listens to these pitches, that's a good sign, because if we can see it, then you're a step ahead right from there.
Right, that's cool.
Of course, during that breakdown session, I was quiet most of the time until the end, when I got a little forward and I jumped in and started adding some comments, and the room got quiet and they all looked at me. And Ira said, "What is it?" And I go, "Nothing." Get it? And then he said, "Well, you go back to wherever it is you live. Where do you live?" And I said, "San Antonio, Texas." And then he stood back and he looked at me and he goes, and he didn't say anything. I said, "Well, I could move." He goes, No. He says, "That's my favorite spot. I go down there to the Riverwalk. I sit there, I drink. Then I go over to Brackettville and go visit the old Alamo." And that's when we found out from Robert Wolfe that Ira Bear was a huge Western fan, especially John Wayne movies. And that's when Robert said, "Look, it's the Searchers." And we were like, "But it's not." He goes, "It's the Searchers. Trust me." So we said, "Okay, it's the Searchers."
Wow. All right, well, we better run. We've got our free-for-all next. We'll have our associate producers join us for the free-for-all. Everybody at home, stay tuned for that, because there is a pretty big piece of trivia about the actress that plays Tora Zial that our resident doctor, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, will be telling us about. One of a few resident doctors. We also have Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Special thanks to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Thomas, TJ Jackson-Bey, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, Anne-Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Susan V. Gruner, Rex A. Wood, John Tufarella, and Robert Weissburg. We will be right back on the seventh rule. But before that, thank you so much, Toni Marberry. Thank you so much, Jack Trevino. We hope to see you again. You guys were awesome.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. And thanks for writing an awesome episode. All right, great. Well, we'll be right back on the seventh rule. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We have a bevy of excellent associate producers joining us right now. Commander Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in Wales, TJ Jackson-Bey in Missouri, Commander John Rhino Tufarella, Yvette Blackmon, Susan V. Gruner, Mayflower descendant. We've got Melissa Longo, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Katie Carr, Twitterer extraordinaire, and Mr. Titus Mohler. How you guys doing?
Okay, great.
All right.
Good.
Good.
Looks like the energy level is low right now.
Super.
Fantastic.
Homer's got an awesome
Some of that
background.
Romulan ale will help.
Ooh, I
Like that.
Relevant
There's
to
like
the
a breeze
episode.
chasing you.
It's Mark Alimo. By the way, Anne-Marie Segal, you've got some trivia about the actress that played Tora Zial, right?
Well, no, actually, I have a trivia conundrum where I'm trying to figure out why she's only in 2 episodes and then replaced with 2 more Zials. But I thought it might be like the makeup, but then it turns out she's in an episode of Voyager and an episode of Enterprise. Like not in as heavy makeup, but also makeup. So I need to find out more about that, unless anybody knows.
Right, she was a Torellian in the 7th season of Voyager and an Orion in Enterprise, I believe.
And
Wasn't she the one who was on the episode Drive when Tom and B'Elanna
Yes.
get married?
yeah, Arena, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
did they
when
need
they
to
when they
have-
get engaged.
Drive.
Did they need an actor who was a little bit older, since there was going to be a possible relationship with Garrick?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when they
Although
mentioned that she was 13 in this episode.
No, she was 13 when the ship went down, I think.
Right.
So
She's 19 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a relief.
That's better than the Mayflower.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any thoughts on this episode, or should we move on? I feel like some of you may have watched this recently, right?
I watched it last night. I liked
Yep.
it. And I like the B plot too with Cassidy. I like that as well. I liked this episode. It was good.
I enjoyed it too. And I thought it, no, I'm not going to pull Orion and say it's a big step. I like
say
this.
that.
I like the development of the sort of the relationship between Kira and Dukat. And you almost start to feel like, oh,
Right.
this guy he's got some good points to him. So it's like the beginning of the Dukat roller coaster. So I
Or
like
is
that
he
development.
messing with her? Well, I can't decide. I want to say he's not messing with her and it's genuine, but it could also be
Yeah,
him trying
And it was just crazy pants, him talking about Bajor and how the occupation could actually have been a good thing for Bajorans. It's like, ooh, okay, buddy.
I love it. I love when they're in the campfire.
I
love the
never
Star Trek
bought him.
campfire.
He always seemed so fake to me. He just, and I couldn't get over what obviously he did to the Bajorans. So, but I always thought that he was really trying to bamboozle Kira, like no matter what scene they were always in. And I always kind of thought she had the secondary instinct of never to believe him.
You guys think that he was
Yeah.
fully fake, or you think he was also partially delusional, where he actually believed his own shit? Like he actually thought, no, I took great care of the Bajorans and they loved me.
Yeah.
I think he totally believed it. I think he believed it.
As well.
Yeah, I think he's been drinking his own Kool-Aid.
Oh, for a long
Yeah.
time. Oh yeah.
I rewatched on Saturday the DS9 documentary, and that kind of cemented, Mark Alimo's perspective. Basically, in any scene that he was in with Kira, he said he was always trying to break her, always trying to win her over, because he said, Garrick is this sexy guy, and so.
I actually remember seeing that when I was a youth, and Deep Space Nine. There was like a max. I was one Ute. And there was like a Star Trek magazine, and it had like Gul Dukat on the cover, and it was saying something about Star Trek's sexiest villain or something. It was talking about how like women were saying he was sexy. What do you guys think? Is he sexy, or is that also delusional?
A little
No.
bit.
Oh, mixed reactions.
Oh, wow.
I remember on the AOL message boards back in the day, that's when Ron Moore was on there, and he would interact with fans. And I remember him, this was when the show was in production, and he was like, there were these female fans arguing with him, saying, I think you're intimidated by the sexiness of this character. And Ron was like, sure. Ron would tell them, sure, he's charming, but he is also evil. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that was me. Just kidding.
What was it?
I was like 12. Was it
Eve?
Bewitched 222?
Eve, what do you think? Was Gul Dukat sexy?
I'm not sure. There's something about him though that's just. I think the charisma just. He is. I think he's actually my favorite Deep Space Nine character, quite controversially. But I just think he's so cool, and he's obviously totally evil. But I think you do get these glimpses. I think there was the part where, I think whether he just sort of found the grave, and I just think that there's certainly parts. I don't think so he obviously becomes that really evil character, but I don't think he necessarily, if he'd been in a different scenario, a different life, I think he might have been a different person. So I don't think he was inherently evil right from the outset, but I think he just got caught up in the rhetoric and the whole, situation he was in, I think. But I really like him as a character. I think he's fascinating.
Sue, Gul Dukat, sexy or nah?
Not sexy. I think he's corrupted by his own power, but a great character. You get a little glimpse when his daughter dies, that how it affects him, but he's still no, not sexy. No.
He's no Garrick.
Ooh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yvette, what do you think? Are you team sexy or no? You look like probably you don't think he's sexy.
There's nothing sexy about him, but I think he's a brilliant character. I love Dukat because he's evil, but he's not. They don't play him completely evil because no one's completely evil. But I just love that character. But sexy, no. That's no.
Taking a little too far.
That's a little too much. A little too much. But no, he's a great character. I love that character.
Katie Carr, sexy or less than sexy?
No, I couldn't get past how fake he always seemed. No, I preferred Garrick more, definitely for a DS9, and sexy wise, I'll stick with Tom Paris and Chakotay.
Nice. I don't know. I'm kind of bummed out that girls don't think fake is sexy. TJ's laughing too hard at that one. Melissa, what do you think? Is Dukat sexy?
Absolutely. No, I'm kidding.
That was wrong. No way.
No. And I do think that he drinks his own Kool-Aid. He believes in bullshit. And I think that he does think people worship him or want to worship him. They just haven't realized it yet, So, and I do think he's a fantastic character because he isn't completely evil. There are, spatterings of gray in there for his character, and there are times when you hope that he's going to, change his tune, but then you realize that he's always going to make the wrong decision. He's always going to make the decision that benefits himself over everyone else. So yeah, he's evil, but he's so complex, which is so interesting to watch.
Sounds like a narcissist.
Yeah, he is a narcissist.
Well, Anne-Marie, as if we have to ask, I think we can guess your answer. Is Gul Dukat sexy?
Well, I'll just say that I admired Kiro for not hooking up with him at the campfire, because I don't know if I would have been so strong.
Oh, Anne-Marie.
It's so romantic. But Quark's obviously the sexiest on the station.
Breathe in through the nostrils, Sean. You got it. Just breathe in.
Also, oh my gosh, me and Eve are twinsies today.
Hey, almost
No.
me. Nice.
The new chat pack shirt from Mr. J.R. Poole.
Right. Good
Oh,
shout out.
yeah.
J.R. Poole designed it completely
Nice.
on his own and sent it to us as a gift.
Yeah.
By the way, Cirroc, you've got a gift coming from J.R. Poole coming in the mail.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's a baby elephant.
No.
Oh.
Melissa got so upset at that.
Right. I'm with mine.
All right. Well, I think we got to be fair about this. Let's ask the dudes. Homer, I think most ladies are saying not sexy, but you called Dukat sexy, right?
I think he has a gift of gab. And I will say that, and I apologize if this is a bit risque in advance, but it was like the smallest camp shovel ever when he was working on those graves. And I don't know if that says something about him and how endowed he is or not.
Hey, Homer.
You're going to follow that? Okay.
There you go. His shovel's too little.
He's got a little shovel. He's got like the smallest shovel ever.
For a tall guy, he's got a little shovel.
Anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question is, what did his shovel have like the Cardassian neck nape going on?
Not that I saw. It looked like a very plain, fairly square, small shovel.
Okay.
But it was shiny. It was shiny.
You guys are killing me.
Okay, so it
Obviously
wasn't
unused.
Yeah, it wasn't ribbed.
I don't know, John.
John,
Oh,
would you like to tell us if you think Dukat is sexy or not, or do you want to talk about the size and shape of his shovel?
Well, the thing is, he's wearing tight
I'll
pants
pass
in
on
this
the shovel.
episode, and you get a glimpse.
His shovel?
Sexy, definitely not.
Oh, wow.
No.
I won't go along. He is an extreme narcissist. He's pretty good at conning people to get what he wants, and has a god complex. I think he would fit in perfectly in our current political climate in the world as it is. But yeah, no, definitely not sexy.
So that's a maybe, it sounds like.
Sure.
TJ, what do you think? Gul Dukat sexy, not sexy?
Well, I think that Kira was looking as good as ever in this episode. That's totally not the question you asked.
It's not the question.
Is the answer we needed, though.
Let's see. All right, let me get back on track. Okay, so yeah, Cassidy was looking great as always. Always love when she
Also,
goes to
not the question.
Dukat, I mirror everybody else. Super complex character that totally, believed in what he was doing. I think he had a lot of like back and forth. Not that he just wanted to be evil all the time. I think in the times where maybe he was with Kira, like he really believed that he could win her over, and he was trying to. I don't think he was just trying to get one over on her. Like he thought he had a shot, and and it's just that too bad that Kira wasn't played by Anne Marie, because when she killed what would have happened.
Yeah, that scene where she pulled the spike out of his butt would have gone a little,
That was awesome.
little differently.
Here, let me get that for you.
Yeah. Oh, the dermal regenerator's broken. Let me just fix it myself.
So, Titus, do you want to class up the place for us? What do you think? Sexy or not sexy?
Yeah, I'd just be approaching this, I guess, sort of with an objective lens. Given the confidence he has, even if it's delusional, and the voice. I mean, Mark Alimo had a really impressive voice. I think this was the role of his career, really. I can see why some ladies would definitely. I can see why some people would find him attractive because of those qualities. Now, certainly, I think the writers liked playing to that, and then also utterly flummoxing him, like in the scene where he gets something stuck in his butt and Kira has to pull that out. And then I'm reminded of the moment back in season 3 with when the station got locked down and Garrick was calling him out for posturing around Kira, and he's just like, Garrick! I think they loved embarrassing him, but they also played to his strengths and his self-confidence at times. So I can certainly understand why that played with some ladies, because they appreciated. Maybe they also saw him as in his moments of vulnerability, maybe he could be turned. Maybe they could fix him or something. I don't know, but I certainly think he has the confidence that he projects and everything, and the voice also helps. That Yeah, I can see some of the argument there for sexiness, but certainly the overwhelming opinion I would end up with is what everyone is saying is that yes, but evil. So avoid it.
But evil. Well, Cirroc, it sounds like it's very 50-50, very mixed in this group of sexy or not sexy. You want to break the tie for us?
Math are you doing?
It's that new math. It's that new math that they're teaching.
Common Core.
Well, Ryan, I think there's nothing sexier than that man that's lurking over your shoulder. What's sexier than that face right there?
Yeah, where is it? Here it is.
There it is. What's sexier than that? No, I kind of have to echo, I'm going to
That's either a pull it out or put it in moment right there.
Yeah, that's a put it. Yeah, I'm going to echo what you said, Titus. I think that certain aspects of his persona could be found as sexy or attractive, like the confidence, a little bit, maybe even his power, the power that he has, and even the way he talks, a little bit of the phraseology, the charming that he has in his communication skills. So he has a little bit of charm in there too. So I could see that, but I don't think that he is aware of how we perceive him as such a villainous, like evil person. So from our perspective, we can't discount that. We can't look past that. But from his own perspective, I think he thinks he's very sexy, and I would see why he would think that.
Right. And delusion is sexy, right?
I don't know about that.
I have a thought. What would have been really, really neat to have seen would have been the Intendant Kira and Mirror Universe Dukat as a couple.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Man, that would be fireworks. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think would eventually be the alpha in a relationship between the two of them? Who would be the dominant one if they were to get together?
Kira.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Intendant.
The Intendant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's pushing the Intendant around. It's not happening.
No, and when she was done with somebody, she was done with them.
And they do it.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left real quick. We've got a good rapid fire question to knock out in 20 seconds or less. This was kind of like, this scene was kind of like Deep Space Nine's version of a romantic comedy. It didn't go in that direction, but it seemed like it was a scene that was taken out of a romantic comedy where two people hate each other and the dude's in an embarrassing spot and then the girl laughs at him and then they share a laugh and whatever. But in this show, they go back to hating each other, but in a romantic comedy, they wouldn't. So what two Star Trek characters would you want to see put together in a full-on romantic comedy? I'm going to start with Homer.
The same series, or can they cross series?
Any series, anything. Let's start with Homer because he seems to be the most annoyed by this question.
Yes, I am. You know what? Let's just go with Sisko and Cassidy Yates, because that's so far-fetched. Even though we had a little bit of that with the "it's a big step." Yeah, it's a really big step. So maybe there's something there, but it would never, ever happen. So I'm going to say that.
Good one.
Homer playing it safe.
What about you, John?
I can't wait to hear yours, John Rhino.
So 7 and Data.
7 and Data. Fun will now commence.
He's fully functional.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, is that what the title of it would it be called? Would it be Fun Will Now Commence, or would it be Fully Functional?
Either way, it works.
Take your pick.
Or either way, it works.
Fully functional fun will now commence.
Oh, smart.
There you go.
Yvette, what do you think? Rapid fire rom-com.
Oh, definitely Beverly and Picard.
Nice.
That's a good rom-com because they're ridiculous. That would be great.
Eve, your thoughts?
Oh gosh. O'Brien and Bashir.
Ooh.
All right.
Are they already in a rom-com of the show?
Yeah. TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri.
Well, since she went with O'Brien and Bashir, I'm gonna twist that a little bit more and say Hoshi and T'Pol.
Ooh.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
It
Do you
doesn't have
think-
to be a rom-com either.
Do you think Hoshi would just constantly like psychoanalyze T'Pol and like T'Pol would try to say things seriously and no?
No, I think they'd have a great time doing languages and science and all kinds of the stuff that they do.
You know those things that they do. What about
Those
you,
things
Susan
that they
B.
do.
Gruner?
I'm
Susan B.
trying to
Gruner.
think of who I would with Q. So I'm thinking Q and
Ooh.
Q and the Intendant would be interesting.
Oh,
Ooh.
that would be interesting.
Saucy.
That's a great one.
Melissa,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
thoughts?
That was good.
Rom-com. I'm thinking T'Pol and Jadzia.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Trying to picture it. Not like that. I mean, like the writing. The writing.
It was going there sometime.
You know what? I have an Anne Marie answer too.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right. Esri and Bones McCoy.
I maybe will watch it.
Anne Marie, do you have one?
I actually think Janeway and Q because I love them together.
They are good.
They were good together.
I'd want to see way more of that.
Katie Carr.
I'm going to go with Chakotay and Seven because I absolutely adored them. And I just got done rewatching the episode One Small Step when she was like doing the computers down like in engineering and it was messing up his interference for the communicator. And he went down and he was like, basically, what are you doing? And she's like, Lieutenant Torres wouldn't allow me or something like that. And I always loved kind of like her logical and his like more at ease personality, and I think that would be something very interesting to see and funny because Seven was very funny.
Yeah.
And she just didn't know it.
Titus Mohler.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to come up with. I guess I was thinking Alana because I think she just would have a strong reaction to almost whomever she was with. So I was trying to think of the right combination there. Maybe B'Elanna and Kirk. I hadn't even thought about the original crew.
Wow.
Interesting to see how they would get along.
You're getting a lot of oohs and ahs out of that one. That's a good one. Cirroc, what do you think?
I think I would go with somebody like Nog and Cassidy. I think that would make a good common. Just because Sisko would be so pissed that his girl left him for Nog.
Or
there's the other foot drop.
so Nog could be your dad, your stepdad, sort of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would tell you what to do.
Yeah, it would be special.
Wait, so if it's a rom-com, somebody needs to be with Rom.
Yeah, you're right.
An exocomp.
Ryan, you got
Trying to think of something with calm in it, but the only thing I could think of was exocomp. I was thinking maybe Garrick and Bashir is an obvious answer because people already have been writing that rom-com in their heads for the last 10 years. So that's a great one. but I do think it's a fun idea to try to do like cross series things. And who was it that mentioned Bailana? Was it you, Titus? Bailana is a good one for any kind of rom-com because of her temper. Yeah, she could kind of fit in with anybody. Like Riker, she would just constantly be telling him, wipe that smirk off your face.
Yeah.
Wipe that damn smirk off your face. He'd be like,
I would have liked to have seen the rom-com that had Quark and Grilka.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. It's great. That's a great one, Homer. Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be good.
How about Vosh and Barkley?
Oh, that would be hilarious too.
That would be funny. Or you could have Lursa, Bator, and Worf. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I was just going to say Bator and Worf.
Yeah. I love
They
her.
tried hooking up with Picard at one point.
That didn't work.
Yeah.
So when Cassidy and Nog were mentioned, it reminded me of the Fascination episode and Rosalind Chow's great reaction to Quark coming on to her. Like, what? That
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts on those? I bet we could name like 50 of them.
Morning, Jojo.
I would also go with Q and Miss Q.
Okay. And it would be called Miss Q.
Well, that's what her name was in Voyager.
Yeah,
when
Miss-
she
yeah.
the Q in the gray. I think it was Q in the gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Morn and Vosh would be good.
Hilarious.
Morning, Spock.
Also.
Morning, Esri.
Oh, that's cute.
It's cute.
More needs a girl that talks a lot.
Right. He's an excellent listener.
When's she going to get a word in? He doesn't shut up.
Right. He never said up.
Yeah, right.
How about Morn and My Hardu?
May Hardu?
May Hardu. I'm sorry.
May Hardu and Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
Holmes.
They shop at the Big and
About
Tall store.
Waxana and Picard.
I was just about to say, look, I was going to bring her up.
Oh, they're my favorite. The Dream Team.
Or the Waxana and Odo were good. They already explored that one a bit, though.
But they weren't like a rom-com. They were just so sweet and lovely.
That was a sweet episode, though, when
I love
they
and I love
married.
Muse. Scary for Jake, but really sweet for them.
Okay, we got one for Rom. It would be a Rom sub-com because it's sub-commander to Paul. What do you think? Does that work?
Oh.
Almost.
Good
Almost.
one.
It's to Paul in a car.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, well, thank you all for joining us, guys. Sorry to end on such a
Thank
low
you.
note there. I was trying to think of a calm. Anyway.
Done a lot of good here today.
But special thanks to Commander Homer Frizzell, Commander John Rhino Tufarella, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Eve England braving the late nights in Wales. That's in the UK. Yvette Blackmon, Tom. Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Mayflower descendant, of course. Melissa Longo, superstar with the green anomaly behind her. Titus Mohler, Katie Carr, ballerina extraordinaire. Dr. Anne-Marie Segal in a lab or something.
In Connecticut.
Thanks, Cirroc. Good time as always. And
I think you forgot TJ Jackson-Bey, but I'll throw that in there.
He got me.
I never forget. He's the only one that gets all my dumb references.
And your musical songs. He finishes all your music songs.
You can bounce if you want to.
I knew that.
Brock, did you see that meme that he put up? Did you show him that?
Yes. Cirroc, I don't think you saw it. I'll send it to you. John Tufarella made a meme with that. It's pretty perfect.
It is perfect.
Nice.
Anyway, thank you all very much for joining us. We'll see you all next time. And always remember the 7th rule.